My boyfriend's message lit up my phone screen in the middle of a client meeting. I glanced down, expecting something mundane, maybe asking what I wanted for dinner or telling me he'd be home late. Instead, I read, "Don't freak out. I lost your laptop. My ex borrowed it for a project and now she can't find it." I stared at those words for a solid 10 seconds, my brain struggling to process what I was reading. His ex had my laptop, and now it was gone. My fingers moved across the screen almost on autopilot. No problem. I'll handle it. 2 days later, after making a few calls and filing a quick report, I waited. When his ex-girlfriend got a visit from the police and slapped with a $10,000 fine she couldn't explain, Brandon's next text came through. "What did you do?" Let me back up. I'm 29, female, and I work in IT security consulting. I've been with Brandon for about 18 months now. Things had been solid between us, or at least, that's what I thought. We'd moved in together 4 months ago, splitting rent on a decent 2-bedroom apartment downtown. Brandon's a graphic designer who works freelance, mostly from home, and he uses his own MacBook for everything. I had a custom-built Dell workstation for my actual work, but I also kept a personal laptop, a newer HP Spectre that I used for side projects, some light gaming, and personal files. Nothing classified or work-related, but it contained things I couldn't afford to lose. My tax documents, cryptocurrency wallet backups, passwords stored locally in an encrypted folder, and about 3 years' worth of personal photos and videos. Family gatherings, vacation pictures, irreplaceable memories. That Tuesday afternoon text came at exactly 2:00 p.m. I was sitting across from a client, nodding along to their security concerns, when my phone buzzed against the conference table. I saw Brandon's name and assumed it was routine. It wasn't. "Don't freak out. I lost your laptop. My ex borrowed it for a project, and now she can't find it." The words seemed to rearrange themselves in front of my eyes. His ex. He'd mentioned her before in passing. Jessica, 31 years old, working in marketing or advertising or something equally vague. They'd dated for 2 years and broken up about 8 months before Brandon and I got together. According to him, it had ended mutually. They'd stayed friendly. No drama, no lingering complications. I'd never met her. Never had any reason to think about her much. She was just a person from his past who occasionally popped up in conversation. He'd run into her at a coffee shop or seen one of her Instagram posts, that sort of thing. I never worried about it because I trusted him. But now she had my laptop. Or rather, she'd had it. Past tense. I typed back quickly. "Why did your ex have my laptop?" The 3 dots appeared immediately, then his response. "She needed to borrow one for a presentation. Mine's been acting weird and you weren't home. I'm really sorry, babe." My jaw tightened. I forced myself to keep my next message short. "When did you give it to her?" "Like 5 days ago. She said she'd return it Sunday, but now she's saying she can't find it. I'm so sorry." 5 days. He'd given my personal laptop to his ex-girlfriend 5 days ago and was only telling me now because she'd lost it. I typed one more message. "No problem, I'll handle it." Then I put my phone face down on the table and somehow managed to finish the meeting on autopilot, nodding and making notes I'd barely remember later. I left the office early and drove home in silence, my mind racing through everything that didn't add up. When I got back to our apartment, Brandon wasn't there. He had a client meeting across town and wouldn't be back until evening. I sat down at the kitchen table, made myself a cup of coffee, and just thought it through. The apartment was quiet except for the steady hum of the refrigerator. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug and stared at my phone sitting on the table in front of me. First question. Why would he give her my laptop without asking me? We lived together. He could have called, texted, or simply waited for me to get home. 2nd, 5 days ago, was Thursday. I'd been home that evening. I specifically remembered working on my desktop in the spare room while he watched something in the living room. He could have asked me then. 3rd, Sunday had come and gone. It was now Tuesday. She'd had 2 full days to realize the laptop was missing, and he'd only told me when he couldn't avoid it anymore. Something felt wrong. Not just the laptop itself, but the entire situation. Why was he so comfortable giving her my property? Why the delay in telling me? What else wasn't he saying? I opened my laptop tracking app on my phone. Years ago, out of professional habit, I'd installed Prey on all my devices. It was standard security protocol for someone in my field. I pulled up the dashboard now and checked the location history. The last ping had come through on Saturday afternoon at 3:47 p.m. from an address I didn't recognize. It was in a residential area about 20 minutes away. I took screenshots of everything, saved the coordinates, and pulled up Google Maps. The street view showed a modern apartment complex with clean lines and landscaped grounds. Newer construction, probably expensive. Not the kind of place where someone who needs to borrow laptops typically lives. Then I called Amanda. She's one of my closest friends from college, and she's been working as a patrol officer for the last 6 years. Not a detective, just patrol, but she knows people and she knows procedure inside and out. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, what's up?" "I need advice," I said. "Someone borrowed my laptop and won't return it. What are my options?" "Do you have proof it's yours? Serial number, receipts, anything like that?" "Yeah, all of it. Plus it's got tracking software installed. I have the last known location and everything." "File a police report," she said without hesitation. "If it's worth over $1,000, that's felony theft in this state, especially if they're refusing to return it. Do you have any texts or anything showing you asked for it back?" "Working on that part." "Get it in writing. Text them directly. Ask for it back clearly and directly. If they refuse or ignore you, file the report and bring all your proof. We'll take it from there." She paused, then added, "And listen, if you've got tracking data showing where it is, bring that too. Makes our job a hell of a lot easier." I thanked her and hung up. Then I scrolled through Brandon's phone contacts. Not snooping exactly, but months ago he'd left his phone unlocked on the kitchen counter, and I'd happened to see Jessica's contact information when he got a message from her. I'd saved the number without really thinking about it at the time. Now I was glad I had. I composed a text to her, keeping it direct and professional. "Hey Jessica, this is Brandon's girlfriend. He mentioned you borrowed my laptop last week. I need it back by tomorrow. Can you drop it off, or should I pick it up?" I hit send and waited. 3 hours passed. I checked my phone every 15 minutes like an idiot, watching the screen for those 3 little dots that would indicate she was typing. Nothing came. Brandon got home around 6:30. The moment he walked through the door, he started apologizing, his words tumbling over each other. "Jessica was looking everywhere for it," he said. "Maybe she'd left it at her office or at a friend's place. She was sure it would turn up." But as he spoke, I noticed he wouldn't quite meet my eyes. His hands moved restlessly, and he kept shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "Why didn't you ask me before giving it to her?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "You weren't home, and she really needed it. I didn't think it was a big deal." "It's my laptop, Brandon. My personal stuff is on there." "I know. I'm sorry." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I'd come to recognize. "I'll pay for a new one if she can't find it. I'll give you the money this week, I promise." "It's not about the money." He went quiet after that. We ate dinner in silence, leftover pasta that he reheated while I sat at the table, still checking my phone. Jessica never replied. Brandon kept glancing over at me, opening his mouth as if he wanted to say something, then closing it again. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Wednesday morning came, and still nothing from Jessica. I texted her again at 9 a.m., right when I got to my office and settled in at my desk with my first coffee of the day. Jessica, I need a response. Do you have my laptop or not? 2 hours crawled by. I tried to focus on work, running security audits for a client, but my eyes kept drifting to my phone. Finally, at just past 11, her response came through. Don't have it, man. I told Brandon already. Think I left it. Somewhere. I'm looking. I stared at that message. Man? And more importantly, think I left it somewhere? Not, I lost it, or I'm not sure where it is, but a vague, non-committal statement that told me absolutely nothing. I typed back immediately. Where did you last have it? The message showed as delivered, then read. But no response came. I waited until 5 p.m., watching the screen intermittently throughout the day, but she never replied. Thursday morning, I took an early lunch break and drove to the police station. I'd prepared everything the night before. The receipt from when I bought the laptop 2 years ago, the serial number I'd photographed and kept in my files, screenshots of the tracking data showing the last known location, and the entire text exchange with Jessica printed out. The police station smelled like stale coffee and floor cleaner. I waited in line behind an elderly man reporting a fender bender, and then I was called up to the desk. The officer who took my report was professional and methodical, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and careful hands. She typed everything into her computer, asking detailed questions about when I'd last seen the laptop, when Brandon had given it away. Everything. Just so you know, she said, pausing to look up at me over her reading glasses, if it's worth over $950 and she's refusing to return it, that's grand theft. That's a felony charge here. We'll send an officer to her address to retrieve it or issue a citation. Could take a few days to process, but someone will follow up. Understood, I said. I just want my property back. We'll do our best. Keep your phone on in case we need more information. I thanked her and left, feeling a strange mixture of vindication and unease settling in my chest. I didn't tell Brandon I'd filed the report. All week, he kept apologizing, kept saying Jessica was working on it. Maybe she'd find it this weekend. Maybe she'd left it at a restaurant. Maybe someone had taken it by accident. His excuses became more elaborate with each passing day, more desperate. I just nodded along, saying okay, and I hope so, acting like I believed every word. Saturday afternoon arrived. I was at the grocery store, standing in the produce section trying to decide between red and green apples, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, balancing my shopping basket on one hip. Is this Sarah Mitchell? A woman's voice asked, professional and clipped. Yes, this is she. Hi, this is Officer Williams with Metro PD. We went to Jessica Parker's address regarding your stolen property report. She wasn't home, but we left a notice on her door. She paused, and I heard papers rustling in the background. We also ran her record through the system. She's got an outstanding warrant from 2 years ago. Failure to appear on a previous theft charge that was never resolved. We're coordinating with county to bring her in. Just wanted to keep you updated. I stood there in the produce section, an apple still in my hand, processing what she'd just told me. A previous theft charge? Yes, ma'am. Retail theft from a department store. She skipped her court date back in 2023. It's been sitting inactive, but now that we've made contact through your case, it's active again. She'll need to turn herself in, or we'll pick her up next time we see her. That's separate from your case, but I thought you'd want to know the kind of person you're dealing with. We'll keep trying to recover your laptop. Thank you, officer. I really appreciate the update. I hung up and just stood there, staring blankly at the display of apples in front of me. Brandon's ex-girlfriend had a theft record, an active warrant that had apparently just been reactivated because the police went looking for her about my laptop. The irony wasn't lost on me. I finished my shopping on autopilot, moving through the aisles without really seeing what I was putting in my basket. When I got home, I methodically unpacked everything, putting groceries away in their designated spots, while my mind churned through this new information. Brandon came home about an hour later. The moment he walked through the door, I could tell something was wrong. His face was flushed, his eyes wide, and he was clutching his phone like a lifeline. "Jessica called me freaking out," he said before I could even say hello. "She said the police came to her apartment about your laptop." He stared at me, something between confusion and accusation in his expression. "Did you call the cops?" "I filed a report," I said calmly, setting down the dish towel I'd been using. "It's stolen property." "Are you serious?" His voice pitched higher. "She's looking for it. You didn't need to do that. This is insane. She's had it for over a week. She won't respond to my texts properly. What did you expect me to do?" "She's going to get in serious trouble now because of this." "Good," I said, and I meant it. "She stole my laptop." Brandon stared at me like I'd just grown a second head, like I was suddenly a stranger standing in our kitchen. "She didn't steal it. I gave it to her." "You gave it to her without my permission, and now she won't return it. That's theft, Brandon. Legally, that's exactly what it is." "You're being ridiculous. This is going to ruin her life over a stupid laptop." "Then she should return my laptop. Simple solution." He grabbed his keys off the counter, his movements sharp and angry. "I can't believe you did this." Then he left, slamming the door so hard that a framed picture fell off the wall in the hallway, the glass cracking with a sound that echoed through the suddenly empty apartment. He didn't come back that night. He didn't answer my texts asking where he was. I sat alone in our bedroom, staring at my phone, wondering how we'd gotten here. Sunday evening, Brandon finally came back. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept at all. His eyes were red-rimmed, from crying maybe, or from exhaustion. I couldn't tell. His hair was messy, uncombed, and he was wearing the same clothes he'd left in. He sat down at the kitchen table across from me without saying hello, without even looking at me directly. "Jessica got arrested," he said, his voice flat and hollow. I didn't say anything. I just waited, letting the silence stretch between us. "She got pulled over this morning for a broken taillight. They ran her name and arrested her right there on the warrant. She's in county jail now. She can't afford bail. It's set at $5,000, and she doesn't have it. She's going to lose her job. They won't hold her position if she doesn't show up Monday." He finally looked up at me, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not just anger, but genuine hurt, like I'd betrayed him on a fundamental level. "Where's my laptop?" I asked. He looked at me like I'd slapped him across the face. "Are you kidding me? That's all you care about?" "Where is it, Brandon?" "I don't know. She really doesn't know where it is. She's been looking everywhere." "That's her problem. Why are you being like this?" His voice cracked. "This is so out of proportion. It's just a laptop. It's just a thing. Her life is falling apart." "No," I said, keeping my voice steady and level. "It's not just a laptop. It's my property, my files, my privacy, my memories, and you gave it to someone without asking me. And now she's pretending she lost it." "She's not pretending. Why would she lie about that? What would be the point?" "Brandon, she has a previous theft charge. The cops told me when they ran her record. Did you know that?" The color drained from his face. He looked down at his hands, his fingers twisting together nervously. That was years ago. It was a mistake. You knew, I said, and it wasn't a question. She told me about it back when we were dating. She made a dumb mistake when she was younger, took something from a store, got caught. It doesn't mean she's a thief now. People change. She stole my laptop. She didn't. He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Oh my God, you're insane. You filed a police report and got her arrested, and now she's in jail, and you don't even care about what happens to her. I care about getting my property back. That's it. He stared at me for a long moment, his chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. Then he shook his head slowly. I can't do this. I can't be with someone who's this vindictive and cold. Then leave, I said. And he did. He went into our bedroom and started throwing clothes into a duffel bag, grabbing things randomly. Shirts, pants, toiletries from the bathroom. He didn't fold anything, didn't organize, just shoved it all in. Then he walked out without another word, the door closing with a soft click that somehow felt worse than when he'd slammed it the day before. He went to stay with his friend Tyler. I didn't hear from him for 2 days. The apartment felt empty and quiet, the silence pressing in on me from all sides. Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang again. Officer Williams's number appeared on my screen, and I answered immediately, stepping away from my desk at work. Quick update for you, Ms. Mitchell, she said, her tone brisk but not unfriendly. We got a search warrant for Parker's apartment approved this morning. Went in with 2 other officers around 10:00 a.m., found your laptop in her bedroom closet, in a backpack, tucked under some clothes and shoes. Hidden pretty deliberately, I'd say. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Hidden? Yes, ma'am. We're processing it as evidence right now, but you'll get it back within the week. Also, the DA's office is reviewing charges. Since the property value exceeds $950 and we have evidence she knowingly kept it and lied about its location, they're considering felony theft charges. She'll have a hearing in a few weeks, once she posts bail or gets a public defender assigned. Wait, I said, trying to process this. You found it in her apartment? In her closet? That's correct. Not lost. Hidden. Pretty clear-cut. She knew exactly where it was. We took photos, documented everything. You'll get a copy of the report. Thank you, officer. Seriously, thank you. Just doing our job, ma'am. We'll be in touch. She hung up, and I sat there for a moment, staring at my computer screen without really seeing it. Hidden, in her closet, under clothes and shoes. She'd looked Brandon in the eye and told him she'd lost it, that she couldn't find it, that she was searching everywhere. And the whole time, it had been in her apartment. I pulled out my phone and texted Brandon immediately. Police found the laptop. It was hidden in her closet. No response. I watched the screen, waiting for those 3 dots to appear, but nothing came. I went back to work, trying to focus on the security protocols I was reviewing, but my mind kept drifting back to that image. My laptop, deliberately concealed in the back of a closet. 3 hours passed. I left work, drove home, made myself dinner, chicken stir-fry with vegetables, methodically chopping and cooking while my phone sat on the counter, silent. Finally, around 8 p.m., Brandon's response came through. What? Just that. One word. I typed back. They searched her place with a warrant. It was in her closet, in a backpack, hidden under clothes. She didn't lose it. She kept it. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times, like he was typing and deleting, typing and deleting. Finally, his message came through. That doesn't make sense. Why would she do that? I don't know, Brandon. But she lied to both of us. More typing and deleting. I could almost feel his internal struggle through the screen, the cognitive dissonance of what he'd believed versus what was true. Then, I need to talk to her. She's in jail, I typed back. No response after that. I tried calling once, but it went straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. What was there to say? The days that followed felt strange and disjointed. I went to work, came home, existed in our apartment that suddenly felt too big and too empty. Brandon's things were gone from the bathroom, his toothbrush, his shaving cream, the cologne he wore. The spare bedroom where he usually worked was empty, his desk cleared off, his sketchbooks and tablets gone. It was like he'd been erased from the space we'd shared. A week later, Officer Williams called again to tell me I could pick up my laptop. I went to the station during my lunch break, signed some paperwork, and they handed it over in a clear evidence bag. When I got home, I opened it carefully, powered it on, and checked everything. She, Jessica, had apparently tried to factory reset it, but she didn't know about the BIOS password I'd set up years ago. Standard security practice for someone in my field. The reset had failed, and everything was still there. My files intact, the encrypted folders untouched, my photos still preserved. It was like she'd barely used it, just kept it hidden away. I backed everything up immediately, triple-checked that nothing was missing, and then finally let myself feel the relief that had been building. My memories were safe. My work was safe. Everything was still there. 3 weeks after the initial incident, I got a text from Officer Williams with an update. Jessica had taken a plea deal. Instead of fighting the felony theft charge, she'd pleaded guilty to misdemeanor theft. The deal included a $2,500 fine, 2 years of probation, and restitution to me for the laptop, $200, which was what I'd paid for it originally. I didn't need the money, so I donated it to a charity that provided computers to underprivileged kids. It felt better than keeping it somehow. More constructive. But the plea deal was just part of Jessica's financial troubles. Her prior warrant had been resolved as part of the same court proceedings, but it added another $3,000 in fees and fines. Then there was the bail bondsman fee, 10% of her $5,000 bail, so $500. She'd also hired a private attorney instead of using a public defender, apparently thinking it would help her case. That had cost her another $3,500. All told, by the time everything was settled, Jessica was out over $10,000. She'd lost her job too. They hadn't held her position after she missed work due to being in jail. From what I heard through the grapevine of mutual acquaintances, she was working retail now, trying to pay off her fines and legal fees on probation. Last Friday night, 3 weeks after everything had gone down, my phone lit up with a text from Brandon. It was the first time I'd heard from him directly since that last conversation about the laptop being found. "What did you do?" I stared at those words, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and frustration wash over me. "I filed a police report for my stolen laptop. That's it." His response came, quickly, sharp, and accusatory. "She lost her job. She's broke. Her life is ruined. Are you happy now?" I took a breath before responding, choosing my words carefully. "She stole my laptop and lied about it repeatedly. Actions have consequences. I can't believe I ever thought you were a good person." That one stung more than I wanted to admit. I sat there, staring at my phone screen, feeling something twist in my chest, but I typed back anyway. "I can't believe you gave my laptop to your ex without asking, and then defended her when she lied to both of us. I can't believe you chose her over me." She made a mistake. She committed a crime. There's a difference. I watched the screen, waiting for another response, but instead I saw the notification. Brandon Hayes has blocked you. Just like that. No final words, no closure, just a digital door slammed in my face. The following week, while I was at work, Brandon came by the apartment and moved out the rest of his things. I came home to find his key sitting on the kitchen counter. No note, no explanation. Just the key on the bare surface, catching the evening light coming through the window. His friend Tyler sent me a text later that evening. Brandon got everything. Don't contact him anymore. I didn't plan to. I got my laptop back the following Tuesday, finally released from evidence. Everything was intact. Jessica had apparently tried to factory reset it, but the BIOS password I'd set had stopped her cold. Nothing was erased. My files were fine, the encrypted folders untouched, my photos still there. 3 years of memories, safe and sound. It was like she'd kept it just to keep it, with no real plan for what to do with it. The apartment felt different now, quieter, but also somehow cleaner, like the air itself was less heavy. I started looking at studio apartments closer to my office, places with big windows and updated kitchens, spaces that would be just mine. Fresh start. New chapter. I haven't heard from Brandon since he blocked me. Through mutual friends, the ones who still talk to me anyway, I learned that he and Jessica are talking again. Apparently, she's been leaning on him for support, and he's been helping her figure out her probation requirements, going with her to her check-ins, helping her look for better jobs. Part of me wants to be angry about that, but mostly I just feel tired and relieved. Because the person I thought I knew, the person I'd built a life with, wasn't who I thought he was. He'd given away my property without asking, defended someone who lied and stole, and then made me the villain for wanting my own belongings back. I don't regret filing that police report. Not for a second. My laptop contained years of personal memories, financial documents, encrypted passwords, things I couldn't replace. Jessica took something that wasn't hers, hid it, and lied about it repeatedly. If she'd just returned it the first time I asked, none of this would have happened. But she didn't. And Brandon chose to protect her instead of respecting me. So here I am, 3 weeks later, sitting in an apartment that's slowly becoming just mine again, looking at apartment listings on my laptop, the same laptop that started this whole mess. Tomorrow I have a viewing for a studio with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows in a neighborhood I've always loved. The rent is slightly higher than my half of what Brandon and I were paying, but I can manage it. And it'll be mine. Just mine. Maybe that's better anyway. Some people have asked why I didn't just ask Jessica nicely first. I did. I texted her twice asking for my laptop back. She ignored me the first time, and then lied the second time, saying she didn't have it when it was literally hidden in her closet. I gave her multiple chances. Others have asked why the amount came to $10,000 for a misdemeanor. It wasn't just the fine. It was the lawyer fees, around $3,500, because she hired a private attorney instead of using a public defender. It was the bail bondsman taking 10% of her $5,000 bail. It was the $12,500 fine from the plea deal, plus the $1,200 restitution she had to pay me. And then, there were the old warrant fines that got reactivated when they ran her record, another $3,000. She basically had to pay for 2 separate legal issues at once. And for those saying I'm heartless, Jessica had my laptop hidden in her closet and lied repeatedly to both me and Brandon about having it. If she'd just returned it the first time I asked, none of this would have happened. I didn't ruin her life. She did that herself when she decided to steal from me and then lie about it.